Welcome back to the weird and the wonderful with Strange Bones. Interesting things in the last live, and of course we are going to be doing the second half of the live today. And essentially what we have discovered going along is that as much as people are so convinced that in the modern world we know everything there is to know, we've discovered there's a great deal that we would very much like to know but don't know, which goes to show perhaps that we don't know as much as we think we know. Hey Colin, welcome. So as we get started, I'm going to point out that on this channel we do all that we do purely for interest's sake. We do not promote nor deride any of the things that we talk about, no matter what they are. We are not saying that they are good, bad, or anything in between, merely that certain things are. And with that as our main thing, we have only one rule on the channel, which is to say, don't be rude. And if you are rude, you will get the boot. But you can agree, you can disagree, you can have all the opinions that you like, and we very much would enjoy you having opinions. And so we encourage you very greatly to comment, like, share, subscribe, and do all of the good things that keep the channel going. But with that said, what we are talking about, of course, is treasure. But most importantly, not just treasure, lost treasure that you would think that we'd be able to find with all of our technology, and apparently not so much, which sort of says a great deal about how things can get lost, no matter what it is or how big it is. And certainly in the last live, we discovered there was a great number of things that were lost that were really quite large, entire ships and more. And unfortunately, along with it, incredibly large amounts of gold, which would have been really nice to have. Well, we're going to carry on with the theme with some of the most famous missing treasures and why it would be nice to have them, perhaps. And that will, of course, lead us on to our next topic, which we'll be getting into tomorrow, which will be pirates. But we can't do pirates without talking treasure first. Now, as we get started, we are going to say that there's quite a lot out there, from Confederate gold to the lost riches of El Dorado and all the rest of it, some of which are legends and some of which are absolutely certainly real. So, for example, there are the pair of cannons used by the Texas military forces in the Civil War and in the Texas Revolution, and they are kind of like the holy grail of Texas in a great many ways. The Twin Sisters, a pair of cannons actually, from around 1865 that simply went missing. And how the heck do you lose an entire cannon? Well, I don't really know. But greetings to you who have just joined. Let's talk, if we may, about the challenge that I gave at the end of the last live, and the definitely not JD. Well, that seems fair enough. It's definitely not you, but welcome nevertheless. What South African treasure that was worth so very much was simply lost? Do any of you know what it might have been? Hey, Buster, you're back. Good to see you again. Now, of course, in terms of treasure, you would think that South Africa might not have much that was lost, surely, but, well, keep in mind, South Africa is a place for diamonds and gold. So we actually have a great deal more to lose than many places. Of course, some things were simply taken away legally for varying reasons, but the legendary hoard of gold hidden in South Africa somewhere. Now, we are talking about the Second Boer War, and we are talking about Paul Kruger himself, the government of the Suid-Afrikaanse Republiek. So, May of 1900, the British were preparing to take Pretoria. And of course, being the, hey Hannah, and White Saturn as well, welcome. The Mint was in Pretoria, and so Paul Kruger and the Suid-Afrikaanse Republiek, the ZAR, fled to Middelburg and gave orders to empty both the Mint and the National Bank to the Attorney General Jan Smuts himself. And on the 4th of June 1900, the British sources got all the way up to 6 Mile Spruit, and Jan Smuts arrived at the Mint before 9, and after a quick meeting with the head of the Mint and the National Bank manager, collected all the gold, weighed and recorded, and made ready to dispatch it to the Pretoria train station. Now, there are a lot of stories around exactly what went down. There are those who say they saw wooden boxes on wagons being transported around town and leaving on the Delgoa Bay Railway, the only railway still in control by the ZAR. But what we do know is that the boxes were deposited into the train's baggage compartment, along with an armed guard, and the master of the Mint travelled in the passenger compartment. The train arrived at Middelburg at 2 a.m. the following day, and Meyer, the master of the Mint, stayed to assist with the management of the gold. That included the payment of debt to several claimants. And following this, Commandant General Meindert Noema, Chief Clerk to the Auditor General, took over. Now, Noema left a diary in which he noted clearly and carefully in detail that on the 31st of August 1900, the gold was handed over to a German firm, Wilken and Ackermann, in Lorenzo Marx, Maputo. There were 62 cases of gold, and this firm credited the account to the government of the ZAR for the full value. They supplied the Boer forces with a large amount of provisions, etc., etc. However, here is where the accounts differ, and the legend of the Kruger millions begins. After weighing and recording the data, the gold sent to Middelburg consisted of gold bars, unprocessed gold, and about 100,000 pounds to the value of 750,000 pounds, or 170,000 ounces. The British, however, suggested these numbers didn't match the records that they found, and the records collected by the British said that gold to the value of 2.4 million pounds, which was around 542,500 ounces of gold, was confiscated from at least 10 gold mines from the start of the war by the ZAR. Now, of course, this means that the money that went on was not all of it. If we assume that 542,500 ounces was confiscated, and we accept the documentary evidence that 294,000 pond, or 75,430 ounces, was held at both the National Bank and Mint, then we have a total of 617,930 ounces. And it's a matter of mathematics to see that there was about 258,742 ounces of unaccounted gold. Now, of interest is quite a lot of it was minted into the famous Double Eagle Krugerrands. Now, they didn't make it to Lorenzo Marx, so where went the Krugerrands? This is the big question. So the Second Boer War continued for another 2 years after the ZAR had been exiled from Pretoria, and the gold could have been taken and used up, but, well, that seems unlikely. All we know is the legend has it that there was a huge amount of Double Eagle Krugerrands which were concealed somewhere. Now, nobody knows exactly where the gold went. Did it stay in South Africa? Did it end up in Europe somewhere? Did it end up in Lorenzo Marx? Nobody knows. All we know is that's a lot of gold and it's gone. And, well, it's never been found ever since. So, well, where is it? What happened? And is there any way that we can find it? Because I would take a guess and say that it would probably be worth quite a bit more today. Good place to begin. More today. Good place. Spooky, how are you doing, sir? Are you in fine form?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Good stuff. Did you figure out what the South African treasure was? Have you been listening?
No, I've just got you.
And did you figure out what the South African missing treasure was? It's quite famous.
No.
Well, it is about, we'll call it roughly around 200,000 pounds, the weight, of Double Eagle Krugerrands that Paul Kruger himself snuck out when the British attacked Pretoria in the Second Boer War, and nobody has ever found since. So somewhere, possibly in South Africa, possibly in Lorenzo Marx, possibly even in Europe, there is a very, very large amount of gold that has just never been found ever since then, since the 1900s. I don't know, how much do you think 200,000 pounds of gold would be worth today? I don't know, but more than pocket change, more than pocket change.
Yeah.
But, of course, that's not the only important missing thing. We also need to point out Cleopatra. She was a cunning little minx, an Egyptian Greek, or a Greek Egyptian, depending on which way you look at it. A very, very clever young lady who seduced Caesar and Mark Antony, ruled Alexandria and Egypt for quite a long time, and of course became very, very, very rich in the course of it. And of course, when eventually and rather dramatically she shuffled off this mortal coil through suicide, alas, with the assistance of a snake, at least according to legend, she was buried with a very large amount of riches, incredible golden things of all sorts. But nobody knows where. Now, we do know that there is a temple to Cleopatra, and there were certain gold items found there, but not that much considering, and it was merely a temple to her. It wasn't her tomb. The most prominent theory says that her tomb is at the Taposiris Magna, the temple complex built by Ptolemy II, 30 miles west of Alexandria. We know that Cleopatra was strongly connected to Isis, and the Taposiris Magna was also dedicated to Isis and Osiris, making it a logical burial site. But we know that there were a few coins found featuring both Cleopatra and Mark Antony. There was an alabaster bust resembling Cleopatra and a mask similar to Mark Antony. There were inscriptions on the foundation plates dedicated to Isis, and there was an underwater port and tunnels connected to the temple that back in the day would have been a functional port above ground, which implies there were all kinds of cool things and secret tunnels and more, full of traps, of course, because after all, we're talking ancient Egypt, and what's the point of treasure that's easy to find? But what they didn't find was the tomb or the treasure, not yet. And there's a lot of people who truly believe that if you can excavate deep enough into the tunnels and, well, do so in scuba gear, you might be able to find the treasure. The great lost treasures of Egypt, that was a, bluntly, shitload of gold. So when it comes to Africa, gold is the way. And we had a lot of it, but it's all hidden now. But she is not the only one to have hidden away the good stuff. Genghis Khan, I would argue that for a single military leader, he was the most successful in history at conquering pretty much everybody. And alongside of that, he was also an incredibly clever fellow that basically farmed merchants. So everybody wanted to get down the Silk Road from Europe to China for all of the good reasons. And basically, Genghis Khan figured out that what you do is you let them get there, and then you rob them on the way back of nearly everything, leaving them just enough that they will try again next year. But you keep robbing them. And so he basically farmed the merchants and got really, 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 really rich. Now we know that Marco Polo spent time with Genghis Khan, and he records exactly how rich this bugger was and how much he had. And so, of course, in the proper fashion, when he was laid to rest, he was laid to rest with a huge amount of that wealth. But there is a catch. Now, many people believe that the tomb is near the sacred Burkan Khaldun mountain, a very protected area where archaeological investigation is forbidden. And despite modern tech searches and so on, nothing has turned up. We do know that the proper way to hide a tomb was that you went there, you made it, and then the people that made it and buried it and hid it were all executed. So nobody could talk. We do know that there are a number of legends of this absolutely being what they did to hide the site. A mausoleum does exist in Inner Mongolia. There is a cenotaph. Now, a cenotaph, of course, is not a burial site. It's just a memorial type thing. So the actual grave has never been discovered, hidden by both natural protections and all of the methods of secrecy. So we don't know where it is. We know that nobody was left alive. The soldiers made absolute certain that they concealed all tracks and more, and may have even diverted a river to conceal the grave, which is pretty extreme. Because of the protected area around the sacred Burkan Khaldun, you can't just go digging around. So if you try, you will have to deal with the Mongols, and apparently they are still not very easygoing if you mess with their culture and history, so I wouldn't advise it. There has been permitted drone scans and high-tech scans, and there are potential sites, but again, you can't go and prove it. We know that the memorial is purely symbolic. There is nothing at all. We do know that, according to Marco Polo, who is a pretty good source, about 20,000 people were executed to keep the site secret. So he was willing to go quite far to make sure nobody got it. He didn't want his tomb touched. And of course, if you know anything about Mongolia, it's a huge place and very, very harsh, which means you're never going to find it. It's that hard. And of course, absolutely full of wildness and mystery. A lot of money there, though, but you can't have it. But moving along, we have yet more, and these ones are quite modern, in fact. So what we are interested in is an American ship known as the Republic, which was one of the White Star Mediterranean ships. It was a steamship, one of the top of its time. Not very good for these times, but nevertheless. And on its last voyage, it was rammed by another ship and sunk. And here is where things went south. It was an incredibly foggy day. It was not a deliberate ramming, as far as we know. It was rammed by the Florida. But while there were people on board, some of whom passed as a result thereof, what was important for the modern age, such as it is that it also was carrying a very, very large amount of gold on it. Hidden gold, secret gold, gold that was being taken away for varying reasons. Around about 250,000 pounds of gold, American gold coins, that was going to be used as payroll for the US Navy. Other sources say it could have been as much as 3 million in the US Gold Double Eagles that was on. So we're not really certain. It would have been moved with a certain amount of secrecy, of course, so we don't know. But what we do know is that the ships went down, and they went down with all their cargo. Now the problem is this. We know where the ship is. It was found in 1981. It lies upright 50 miles off the south of Nantucket Island in a depth of about 270 feet or 82 meters of water. And it has no gold on it at all. So where went the gold? Somehow, between its leaving with its 3 million in gold eagles and its sinking, all the gold disappeared. And of course, seeing as it sunk and went down with captain and crew, we can't ask the ones who would know where the gold went, because it ain't there now. So with modern technology, of course, the ship is eminently possible to get to and explore. They certainly could retrieve things if necessary, and I mean, even 1 million in gold would make it worthwhile to go and get it out. Gold is very important for all kinds of reasons, but nevertheless, all attempts of salvage have said that they've lost a lot. It's disappeared and nobody knows where. There's a lot of missing gold in the world. I just need to point that out. But theirs is not the only. Now, as we know, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic developed, if you will, as a result of the fall of the Russian Tsars. And, well, during World War I, the Romanian government sent around 120 tons of valuable objects and gold reserves to Russia for safekeeping, with the aim of them being sheltered from the armies that had already occupied a significant part of Romania and threatened to occupy the entire territory. This was put into what was essentially the treasure reserves that the Tsarist government held. It disappeared once the Soviets got there, the USSR, the takeover, if you will, after the October Revolution, it disappeared and they couldn't find it. So the big question is, where is the Romanian gold? Now, the Romanians blame the Soviets and reckon that it was nicked, and it's remained a bit of a matter of diplomatic tension between the two countries for all of the reasons. It was never given back. But the USSR government claimed that they don't have it and would like it and can't find it. So the question is, where did it go? About 90 tons of gold in both historical gold coins and gold ingots. And along with that, a couple of those Fabergé eggs as well, none of which have ever been found again. The treasure was supposed to be locked up under the Kremlin, but it's gone. So, yeah, somebody somewhere has a hell of a lot of money that everybody wants and that nobody can find, but it does belong to Romania. So, don't know, if you can ever find it, you would be very, very, very rich, because along with all the actual gold, there was a number of religious items of huge value, including the Slavonic Gospel manuscript from 1405 from one of the monasteries, and one from 1502, and two further printed Gospels, hugely historically important, gilded crosses, silver crosses, and a whole lot of other religious icons made of precious metals and more. And the Bolsheviks said, we got none of it. So, maybe it's out there, maybe it's not, but nobody's admitting to it. So the Fabergé eggs, the missing ones. Now, we know that Fabergé made a very specific set of these eggs, about 69, and 61 are known to have survived, but the first edition eggs were manufactured under the actual supervision of Peter Carl Fabergé himself. And if you have ever seen a Fabergé egg, you know that they are unbelievably beautiful. Everyone is absolutely unique. And for example, if you want to know what their value is, one egg, the Fabergé winter egg, was sold at an auction in 2025 for 30.2 million. One egg. Now, we know that a number of them were held by the Russian Tsar at varying times, about 50 of them in total. But a number of these eggs have simply gone missing, and nobody knows where they are. And if you could find even one such egg, well, you would be set for life. There is the first hen egg, the first in a series of 54 jeweled eggs made for the Russian imperial family. It is one of the first eggs ever made by Fabergé. There is the hen with sapphire pendant, which, as you can imagine, is pretty impressive. The Third Imperial. Now, Fabergé left drawings and records of all these eggs. So we know exactly what they look like, what was in them, what they would be worth, and everything. The cherub with chariot, gone. A beautiful cherub drawing a caged chariot. There's a whole selection of these things with diamonds, sapphires, ivory, gold, silver, and more. It's really impressive when you see these Fabergé eggs, and they are worth millions and millions and millions. And we are missing so many of them. So, yeah. If you ever find one, do let me know, because I am your best friend, because they are worth so much money. And we have none of them. Now, another interesting one is known as the Just Judges. The lower left panel of the Ghent altarpiece painted by Jan van Eyck, or possibly his brother Hubert van Eyck, somewhere between 1430 and 1432. We are not totally certain of exactly what it is. We have the rest of the painting, but this panel was displayed at the St. Bravo Cathedral in Ghent in Belgium, along with the rest of the altarpiece, and it was stolen during the night on the 10th of April 1934, and nobody has ever found it. It's an interesting one, simply because getting in to get it would have to have been a combination of a serious lack of security, and for the people breaking in to have a certain number of keys, which would be impossible to get, and manage to dodge all kinds of other security. Nevertheless, there was correspondence to the government saying that there was a ransom demand of 1 million Belgian francs if they wanted it back. And the correspondent went on through 11 letters. Now, there were 2 original parts to the panel, and the ransomer actually returned one of the 2 parts as an act of good faith. So they did get it back. So the guy actually had the panel, but they wouldn't pay the ransom. And so the other piece is just gone. It could be an attic somewhere, it could be lost. They've attempted to x-ray the entire cathedral to see if it was hidden there, but nobody knows. And to this day, there is a police detective permanently assigned to the case to look for this. But nevertheless, it's never been found. Worth a fortune. Now, here's an interesting one, what with current politics. Did you know that the Sword of Islam, Saif al-Islam, was in fact given as a gift to Mussolini? A rather interesting thing, and there was an attempt at one point to portray Mussolini as the protector of Islam. Why? Well, in 1934, after the creation of the Italian Libya and the Libyan genocide, Mussolini adopted a policy for encouraging comparisons with Islam, and called the local population Italian Muslims and built mosques and Quranic schools and more in an attempt to win people over. I don't know how well it went, but there was a very famous sword that he was given by Yusuf Kirisk, a Berber supporter of the Italian occupation against the Libyan resistance. And that sword is supposed to be worth an absolute fortune. It's decorated in arabesque, equipped with a double-edged straight blade and a hilt and solid gold friezes. It is basically really, really, really expensive and fancy, and well, you can imagine. It was connected to a movie as well. It's quite impressive because Mussolini was a prat, actually. He couldn't even ride a horse, even though he's depicted in a number of pictures where they carefully hid somebody holding the horse because he couldn't ride. He was a prat. And he was also so awful a person that Adolf Hitler complained about him in his last will and testament. You know you've got to be useless when Hitler complains about you. So, yeah, but the sword vanished, and nobody knows where it is. So, if you ever find it, it's worth a bit. It's not actually connected to real Islam in any manner or form, to be honest with you. And it was a big fake setup, but it was a very, very expensive fake setup, and so worth a huge amount. Now, the next interesting bit is, again, gold. Now, we know that the Nazis gathered a huge amount of gold, lots of it. And at a certain point, they moved it on a train out of Poland, where they had gathered a huge amount of it, during the last days of World War II. And the train was taken off and concealed in a tunnel somewhere and hidden away. Now, we don't know exactly how much gold it was. It was said to be a huge amount, but it's never been found ever again. The story might not be true, might be true. There's argument back and forth. We know that a train that they said had gold on it left Breslau, which is now Ruclo, and arrived at Freiburg in Schlesien. But it then was supposed to go on to Waldenberg in Schlesien, and it didn't make it. It is apparently the case that it was diverted into an abandoned coal mine or tunnel system near Zeiss Castle, which was part of an unfinished top-secret Nazi construction project, the Project Ries in the Owl Mountains. And they said there was around 330 tons of gold, jewels, weapons, and art masterpieces, which we know a number of art masterpieces went missing during the war. So this is all very, very, very possible. However, nobody has ever found that train, ever, ever, no matter what. So somewhere, if you get the chance, head on out to Poland and go looking for old train tracks and who knows, 300 tons of Nazi treasure sounds like something I could live with. Now, they go on. The Patala necklace, for example, made by Cartier in 1928. It was the largest single order ever placed with Cartier to date. It was made by the Indian Royal Bhupinder Singh, the Maharaj of Patala, for the necklace and other jewelry, worth around 1,000 million in their pennies. Or if you want to know how much it's worth today, as of 2023, about 2.2 billion euro. So worth a bit. 5 chains, a neck collar, 2,930 diamonds, and in its centerpiece, the world's 7th largest diamond of the time, the De Beers diamond. Yes, it came from South Africa, a 428 carat pre-cut weight and a 234.65 carats in its final setting. The largest cushion cut yellow diamond and the second largest yellow faceted diamond in the world. It also, incidentally, contained 7 other large diamonds between 18 and 73 carats, and, you know, a number of Burmese rubies, because why wouldn't you put that in a necklace? The necklace was well known, well seen, and was used, which is quite impressive. We know that the necklace was eventually on display in San Francisco, of all places, by Cartier, who had bought the necklace back after the passing on of that particular royalty. And we know that it was sealed in a museum and wasn't ever allowed out again. But according to stories, it disappeared. And it may or may not be lost. Cartier denies that it's lost. They say they've got it. But there hasn't actually been any proof that they have, because nobody's seen it. So it might be out there, lost, and full of diamonds. An interesting thing. Nevertheless, what would you say if an entire room was stolen? Well, there was. The 8th wonder of the world, installed in Russia's Catherine Palace, originally built in Prussia, the magnificent Amber Room, which was panelled in amber, gold leaf and mirrors. It was dismantled by the Nazis in World War II and disappeared. And while a replica can be found, the original has never been seen again. It was commissioned by King Frederick I of Prussia in the early 18th century, designed by Andreas Schleuter, and meant for the Charlottenburg Palace. The unfinished amber panels were given to Tsar Peter the Great in 1716 to seal an alliance between Prussia and Russia, and was eventually installed in the Catherine Palace. The room featured amber-panelled walls and was worth an unbelievable fortune. But the Nazis looted it in the war and took it to Königsberg, which is now known as Kaliningrad. But at the war's end, the room simply vanished. Was it destroyed in the bombings, sunk in a ship, hidden or lost during the evacuation? Nobody knows. People are still trying to find it, but it's never been seen again. But when it comes to weird things disappearing, well, how about a subspecies of Homo erectus, a skeleton known as Peking man, a kind of person that would have lived in what is now northern China during the Middle Pliocene, that was found in a cave about 50 kilometers from Beijing. Peking man, an important fellow historically and archaeologically, which was one of the precursors to modern man. Homo erectus, of course, were the ones that came just before, I do believe. And of course, this means that it's a very, very important link. And of course, was classified as being something that might have indicated that actually humanity as we know it came out of Asia, not Africa. Hard to say because we ain't got it anymore and we can't test it and find out more. Certainly would have been the direct ancestor of the Chinese people. A schism between the Western and Eastern interpretations of the origins of modern humans, because the West follows the out of Africa theory. So it's one of those things that you really, really do need it to know how things went and where we came from and more. We know that the Peking man did, because the photographs have wide eye sockets and jaws, was virtually chinless, large teeth and shovel-shaped incisors. Brain volume was pretty big, which means it was definitely one of those ones that was heading towards Homo sapiens as we know it. So very, very, very important. It seems that he was probably killed by giant hyenas, which is a pretty hefty way to go, I think. We know that the whole problem was it was being taken around to be looked at. And the Peking man and other fossils were in the US at the time, and they were put up for transport and were to be transported by the United States Marine Corps. And they were supposed to go on the SS President Harrison to dock at Jinhuangdao Port, near a Marine base camp there, and would then be put into suitable museums there. However, en route to Qinghangdao, the ship was attacked by Japanese warships and run aground. Now, the lockers that contained the bones and all sorts of other samples just are gone. Nobody knows what happened to them after they left the college in December of 1941. Were they on the ship? Weren't they on the ship? They're not on the ship now. We know where the ship is. And when they went to try and find what was on there, gone. So, not as fancy as gold, but it seems that Peking man has escaped, and he has never been found since. Just like, actually, the Irish crown jewels were again really bad security, key access, and everybody conveniently looking the other way at some time. The entire Irish crown jewels disappeared from Dublin Castle, and nobody knew quite how that could have happened, because the sheer amount of coincidence that would have had to have happened just couldn't. I mean, it's insane how much had to go wrong, which means it was probably an inside job and very well planned. But they're gone. All sorts of people were implicated, including Sir Arthur Vickers, the custodian, and Francis Shackleton, brother of the explorer Ernest Shackleton, by the way, who had access. But nobody was convicted because they could prove absolutely nothing. And it was a major scandal. And the jewels have never been found. It included the Order of St. Patrick, which was made with a diamond star, a diamond badge, 5 gold collars decorated with nearly 400 jewels, diamonds, emeralds, and rubies, which is pretty impressive of an order that you could join, as a matter of fact. So the star, badge, and collars of this order, which was the Order of St. Patrick, all gone. Goodbye. And never seen since. Lots and lots and lots of money. Hey, Jodie Lee. But they're gone and we can't find them. Just like the legendary Florentine diamond, an Indian lemon yellow diamond cut as a 9-sided double rose with 126 facets and weighing around 137.27 carats. Historically part of the Austrian crown jewels, lost after World War I, but in 2025 was revealed to have been kept secret in a Canadian bank built by the Habsburg family for over a century. It was hidden in a cardboard suitcase when the Habsburgs were exiled. So this one was found. Yeah, worth a hell of a lot. Came from India, from the Golconda region. It went through Italian nobility and ended up in the House of Habsburg-Lorraine, attached to the Austrian crown jewels. After World War I, Emperor Charles I took the diamond and other jewels into exile in Switzerland, and it was believed lost or stolen when the Habsburgs fled Austria, and it was understood it would have been cut up and lost. However, Empress Zita smuggled the jewels, including this one, to the US in a suitcase, and then eventually stored them in a Canadian bank vault. And this was only discovered in 2025. The descendants kept the secret for a century as instructed, and the recent announcement revealed its location. That must have been a hard one to keep secret. I mean, come on, right? Right there. Now, when it comes to gold, diamonds, and more, there's a hell of a lot that we have not found. I've barely touched on what went missing and why, simply because there's just so much. We know that Dutch Schultz, the Depression-era gangster, buried $7 million in cash and bonds in the Catskill Mountains of upstate New York, and was gunned down shortly after, together with associates. And as they did not disclose the location of the stash to anyone, the burial spot remains unknown. We still have people going treasure hunting in the Catskills, but nobody's ever found any of it. There's the Royal Casket, a memorial with 73 precious relics that once belonged to Polish royalty, looted by the Wehrmacht during the invasion of Poland. All gone and hidden and lost. We don't know where they are at all. There is the legend of Yamashita's gold, war loot stolen by the Imperial Japanese Army from Southeast Asia, hidden in the Philippines. Nobody's ever found it. Tons of gold and stuff. The Awamaru treasures, gold, platinum, and diamonds worth more than $5 billion, lost when the Awamaru, the Japanese ship, was torpedoed by the USS Queenfish and sank in 1945. Shit, that was a bit of a mistake, wasn't it? Damn it. But gone. The Honjo Masamune, the legendary sword made by Goro Masamune between 1288 and 1328 AD, passed down for centuries from shogun to shogun, and is considered to be a totally priceless Japanese cultural artifact, lost during the US occupation of Japan. Some bugger's got it in his attic in the Bronx, and his kids use it to try and chop woods and sword fight in the backyard. Almost certainly. I mean, we also know that there was an amazing medal made of diamond given to Admiral Horatio Nelson by the Ottoman Empire for his naval service in the Battle of the Nile. It was stolen from the London Museum, the National Maritime Museum, in 1951 and has never been seen since. Tucker's Cross, an emerald-studded gold cross discovered in a shipwreck in 1955, stolen from a museum in Bermuda just before 1975, and replaced with a fake. So they didn't even realize it was stolen initially. So some buggers got it. One of my favorite ones is the Lufthansa robbery. A robbery at Lufthansa's cargo terminal at JFK International Airport in 1978 with a value of around $5 million. It was the largest cash robbery in the United States at the time, and none of the money was recovered, ever. Pretty cool. Lots and lots of even modern money. 13 works of art valued at $500 million stolen from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum by two men posing as police officers. The art was mostly stolen from the museum's Dutch Rood and included a Rembrandt and a Vermeer. 1990, gone, gone, gone. The Antwerp diamonds. Diamonds, gold and jewels worth $189 million were stolen in 2003 in what they dubbed the height of the century. And of course, the Graff diamond robbery, 43 items of jewelry stolen in London on 2009, August, valued at £40 million. Nobody knows where they went or what happened. The Ivory Coast crown jewels which was stolen in 2011 from the Musée des Civilisations de Côte d'Ivoire in Abidjan. Gold pendants, necklace, mask, sculpture, religious artifacts, around about $6 million. Gone, gone, gone. The Brussels Airport diamond heist of 2013, 50 million, stolen from Helvetic Airways Fokker 100 at Brussels Airport, gone. And one which is possibly the saddest, okay. If you're ever in Newport and get a chance, go and dig in the Newport landfill. Because in 2013, a laptop hard drive containing the private keys for about 8,000 Bitcoin was lost in the landfill. And the owner was refused the right to go and find any of it. They were worth around $750 million, and Howells sued the council for not letting him go and try and find it for £495 million. But let's talk the Drents Museum heist, 2025. Okay. Romanian hoards, including the golden helmet of Coto Finesti, 3 Dacian bracelets, all lost in a heist at the Drents Museum in Aachen. The collection had been borrowed from Romania. Shit. All gone, not found. 8 pieces of the French crown jewels in 2025 to a value of 88 million stolen from the Louvre. So yeah, all of these lost treasures, and of course, as you can imagine, were lost even very recently. And nobody knows. Now, this leads us to the next bit, which was brought up, in fact, by you yourself, Spooky, in that lots of people, realizing thefts and more are a problem, hid their treasure. And of course, if you're going to hide it, you need a map to get it back. So the next most interesting thing are treasure maps. And there are all kinds from all different ages around the world. And many of these treasures are simply not enough to find the stuff. It seems that you kind of have to know what was being talked about. And while it may have worked very, very well for the owner of the map as a reminder, for anybody else, because they were generally kept with cryptic secrets in them, it's very, very, very difficult to figure out what they're even saying. We know that when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they also found the Copper Scroll, which is a map leading to buried treasure. The scroll contains a list of 63 locations with directions pointing to hidden treasures of gold and silver. The following is a translation of what is written on part of the Copper Scroll. In the ruin which is in the valley of the Achor, under the steps leading to the east, 40 long cubits, a chest of silver and its vessels, with a weight of 17 talents. Now, thus far, nobody has found the items. Scholars are not sure if the Copper Scroll is to be trusted. All we know is they've never found it, and it had lists and lists and lists of these things. But now, given how old the Dead Sea Scrolls are, so they were from around 100 AD. Okay, so there was a place in the Valley of Achor that was a ruin in 100 AD. Chances of finding that now, yeah, not that great, really, if you think about it. Now, of course, treasure maps are the favorite of stories and were the favorite of pirates, which we will get to in the next live. But not only pirates, there was incredible maps made on how to find El Dorado. And we know that in 1595, Sir Walter Raleigh himself set out to find the legendary city of El Dorado. The city was never found, but Raleigh wrote at length in the Discovery of Guyana about his venture to South America, in which he claimed to have come within close proximity to the great golden city of Manoa, which the Spaniards call El Dorado. His narrative was quite unrealistic, though, as it described a tribe of headless people, and his reputation, though, caused other cartographers to use his map as models for their own. So El Dorado was included in several maps of South America, even though it was never actually found and nobody knows where it is. But lots of people went out trying to find it. Nobody really knows if El Dorado ever did really exist, or if it was just a fabrication. We know that they are a huge favorite of many, many fiction stories, with X marking the spot, which of course was made very popular by Robert Louis Stevenson in 1883 in Treasure Island. Edgar Allan Poe's The Gold Bug in 1843, and in one rather fascinating version, a tattoo leading to treasure on the back of a sailor in Yellowbeard, 1983. And of course, the same idea popped up in Waterworld with good old Kevin Costner in 1995. H. Rider Haggard's King Solomon's Mines absolutely used these maps as a plot director, if you will, which provided challenges and obstacles for the characters and riddles and puzzles and all the rest of that. And of course it came up in the first Tomb Raider with good old Lara Croft and more. So there is no lack of treasure maps. In James Fenimore Cooper's 1849 novel, The Sea Lions, the death of a sailor who left behind 2 old, dirty and ragged charts, which lead to seal hunting paradise in the Antarctic, and a location in the West Indies where pirates have buried treasure. It turns up in films, Romancing the Stone, The Goonies. Who's seen The Goonies? Have you seen The Goonies, Spooky?
No.
Oh, you have to see The Goonies. It's hilarious. It's comedy. But absolutely, if you're into adventure movies, you have to see The Goonies. City Slickers 2, The Legend of Curly's Gold. Waterworld, The Road to El Dorado in 2000, which was a very good cartoon. National Treasure, and of course, National Treasure Book of Secrets, the second one of it. All use maps. maps to lost mines, Montezuma's treasure, buried treasure, and even Leprechaun's treasure. Because after all, treasure. But of all of these things, what we do know is they might capture the imagination, but some of the stories are really true. And if they are true, where is the treasure? And we don't know. But it leads to a basic understanding that there are a huge amount of things that we don't know about the world. And with that said, a couple of things which I found very interesting, which I came across in my research, include the fact that we all talk about how the people could have gotten around and where things are in the world, but as it happens, the shape of the world has changed, and quite a lot, and fairly recently, historically speaking. The world is not static. So we are now realizing that Göbekli Tepe, I can never say it right, can I? Is actually one point, and there are multiple other places along the way radiating out from it, which means that there's a lot more building lost under the sand. We know that when it comes to pyramids, the Egyptian pyramids that are found are the smallest percentage of what pyramids are out there. We know that once upon a time, North Africa was the most green and wet part of the world, now a desert, and there are huge cities, canals, and dried up riverbeds lost under the sands that potentially are full of all kinds of knowledge and treasures. And we simply have no idea where it is because it's lost. We know that there was a time when the North Pole was not under ice, and people were able to map the actual island, and did. But we know that is the nature of the world to have a North and South Pole that is cold, which means that at some point the world span on a different axis. And the continents as we know them might not contain all that many traces of ancient civilizations because there weren't ancient civilizations there. They were somewhere else when the world looked different, and we're not entirely sure where or how. All of these things are possible, and of course it then leads you to question what is under the ice of northern Siberia, all of that upper part of the Russian supercontinent. You can't get there, it's too cold, too dangerous, too difficult, but what if once upon a time it was warm there? And it was a very, very different world. There's millions.
You look at Göbekli Tepe.
Yes.
Because I went back to that again about 2 days ago. And then saw that they actually built that in ice. So it wasn't a desert area at the time. It was during the Ice Age where they actually built that.
Okay. And you know that those T columns that are in it actually extend out along a highway through the desert.
Okay.
Apparently so. But going where? Connecting to what? And if it's that much bigger than just Göbekli Tepe, then What else is out there? Who the hell built such a giant structure and why?
Mm.
We
It
know,
was only recently discovered when they did in the hole, and they found this ancient burials. Well, I'm not even sure what it is.
well, that's the
Some people
thing.
said it's like a place of prayer. I don't know, but that's what about
Well,
13,000 years ago.
the latest AI thing on it that I saw was that it was a memorial site, because at a point there was a what they call a meteor shower. So a comet came past Earth too close. So it wasn't one big meteor, it was a hell of a lot of little ones, which would have been fairly dangerous and definitely affected the atmosphere and the temperature of the Earth. So it would have caused the Ice Age, but it would have caused quite a bit of damage to the ecosystem. So you would have had the equivalent of a nuclear winter without the radiation for about 5 or 6 years, which doesn't sound like a long time, but when you think nothing's really growing, there's no food, etc., 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 that's a very long time in terms of trying to survive. And a lot of things died out during this nuclear winter. And they built the Göbekli Tepe as a memorial, and that some of the columns actually display what look like snakes coming from the sky, and which they are now saying aren't snakes, they're the mini meteorites from the tail of the comet that passed too close. Now this is interesting because your Atlas comet thing that's coming would be much the same kind of thing. It won't hit us, but we will catch part of its tail. Maybe we're going to get the same thing all over again.
Today, everything looks so dry and there's nothing growing there.
Right?
Where apparently it was actually all ice. Well, everything was frozen back then.
And prior
But,
to that, apparently, that area was very green.
Oh,
So the nuclear winter and the cold and ice caused by the tail of the comet basically shifted everything. So it changed from green to desert.
so I also heard that people buried the entire site.
Well, out of sorrow, according to what I read in the last, because it was a memorial to those who had died, everything got buried in a sort of goodbye for all the peoples that were lost. That was the theory.
Yeah. Well, if you look at it now and you see everything it's very dry. It's like
Yes.
a desert like. And the reason why deserts don't really grow anything, even if it rains or stuff, is because the wind keeps on moving the sand. The sand doesn't stand still. It makes a heap over there and then a heap over there. So, I mean, it could have just pulled sand into it.
Exactly. It could have. Now, did you know that one of the biggest causes of desertification are goats? Now, I didn't know this, but here's why, and it's actually quite interesting, okay? The reason sheep are better for the environment than goats is sheep use their front teeth to nip the plants off. But the rest of the plant remains in the ground, so it resprouts leaves. Okay? So when sheep eat everything off, it just regrows. When goats eat, they pull everything, including the root, from the ground, so it doesn't regrow, which makes goats one of the leading causes of spreading desertification. And many of these very dry countries keep goats, not sheep.
But they both are dumb.
Well,
I saw a goat, the leader, fell off a cliff. So all the other goats followed.
well, yes. Some say sheep are more dumb than goats. To be honest, I suspect that's arguable in what we would call, in terms of how intelligent is intelligent when you're talking about a goat. You know, it might be 5 times more intelligent than a sheep, but 5 times 1 is 5, not 50.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think they might have been sheep, but they weren't so fluffy, so I'm guessing they were goats.
yeah, I must say, the other question, I suppose, is what kind? Because now in England, when I visited there, I went to a sheep farm, and the sheep farm included what they call merino goats. Okay, now merino goats, very importantly, are bred specifically for wool. They are known to be among the best in the world for wool. Okay, which is great, no problems. But they really are like these balls of wool. They're puffy. They're amazing. Now, when I was up on the border of South Africa in the north, I went to a sheep farm there. And the sheep there are bred for meat, not wool. And I've got to say that they look nothing like a merino wool sheep. They are not fluffy and curly and cute in any manner or form. They are straggly and thin coated, which really is like the exact, they look more like goats than goats do. So I suppose it depends on what you're keeping the sheep for and how you've bred them. But I'm not much of a sheep farmer, so, you know, I wouldn't want to definitively comment. What have you got there? Is that a sheep?
I'm not sure what it is. It looks like an animal.
Well,
Could
part of the
be
problem,
a bull or something.
they say that a number of the animals on the columns at Göbekli Tepe are not known to us. Either they are very stylized, and that's why we don't know, or they're a kind of animal that no longer exists because the meteor shower wiped them out. So that could be a version of aurochs, you know, a precursor to a cow.
Yeah, well, this was about, what, 13,000 years ago.
Exactly. And aurochs existed during the time of the Celts, which wasn't that long ago at all. So, yeah, more than possible.
But I see handbags also on
Yeah,
these rocks. Lots of
I've tried
handbags.
to research that because you see handbags in the hands of people in Egyptian frescoes. You see handbags carved in the friezes in the hands of people in South American, Olmec, Mayan, and Aztec places. You see in the Middle East all over handbags. What's with handbags?
Yeah, I think it was probably a method of survival.
Well, I mean, nobody seems to agree what it was. Was it just a symbol to say that I have a bag to show that I carry important things and therefore it's a symbol to show that you're an important person in the picture? Was it your weed stash? You know? But they are
Yeah.
found world over,
Looks like locks.
right? So what goes in the bag?
I wonder what kind of bird this is.
Is that beak really, really big?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's a bird. This does look like feathers.
It kind of looks a little bit like a crow in the way it's drawn.
Okay, well, here's more. Looks like they've got long legs. If those are legs. They were probably not the best artist.
Because the beak's sort of proportionate to the head in the way that you would expect a meat-eating bird to have a beak.
What the hell is this?
I have no cooking clue. I don't know. It looks like it's got a weird angular head, like one of those siren people from horror movies.
Yeah, it looks like a reptilian. Doesn't look like it would be a dog or something.
It could be reptilian.
What? I've never seen this statue there.
No.
But it says here, Göbekli Tepe. Big, beautiful statue.
It is very big. Now, you see how they've got those really specific T-shaped columns?
Yeah, these types of
Yes,
ones.
that one right there. Apparently, there's a whole line of them going down a road out from Göbekli Tepe into the desert. So the handbags, known often as the handbags of the gods, they are commonly depicted in the hands of divine or semi-divine figures like royalty. They're stylized, almost always have a rounded handle at the top and a rectangular bottom part. They appear in diverse places in stone reliefs in distant cultures separated by thousands of years and miles. So key locations of your handbags dating back to around 11,000 BC, Göbekli Tepe.
That's about 13,000 years ago.
Well,
It's 11,000 BC.
yes. So they're found carved into the pillars. Mesopotamia, among the Sumerian and Assyrians, from around 9 to 7 century BC, where you've got reliefs from Nimrud and Nineveh, modern-day Iraq, show Apkallu, one of the winged sages or deities, holding these bags, often paired with a weird pine cone-like object, maybe with a hand grenade bag. The Olmec civilization of Mesoamerica, from around 12,000 to 400 BC, often has a number of figures with the same handbag. Other places, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Maori art in New Zealand, and Southeast Asian and Indonesian carvings. So all over the world, right?
For thousands of years.
Archaeologists often interpret these things as purification buckets used to carry holy water or pollen, or they are in fact a symbol of the cosmos. So the handle being curved is the sky overhead, and the square base is the earth. And the reason that the gods carry them is because they control the heavens and the earth. Others say that they are symbol of the fact of knowledge, divine knowledge that are handed on to humans by deities. Others say that they are in fact tools or black box type things of technology brought by ancient aliens or something like that that visited.
Maybe they're cutting tools. Why did they never draw their cutting tools?
That's a damn good question as well. Why did they never draw any of their tools that they used to build all these things? I mean, when you look at some of the things built, it's pretty impressive. I'd leave a little note, you know, along the lines of, my name is Philip, I built this, and here's how. Because let's face it, I mean, come on, sign your work.
The cutting tools had to teach them through word of mouth for thousands of years.
Right? And I mean, if you think about it, they say, oh, these amazing things built by these prehistoric people with no more than stone tools. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know what? Even with modern tools, that would be an absolute bitch to try to build. I mean, it would be hard. So, you know, the idea that they made it with a flint chisel really stretches the brain.
No, I doubt it. And I think it used to be a lot smoother, but because of the erosion, it looks a bit...
Well, yes, that as well. I strongly suspect that what we're seeing as an ancient and primitive back in the day would have looked a hell of a lot nicer. I mean, we know, for example, the Olmec heads were tested, okay, and it was discovered that while now they're just grey stone heads, originally they were painted in neon colours. You know, they were really made to look bright and amazing.
What the hell is that?
What are you looking at?
I found an alien.
Aliens are good.
Person or something, I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
Could be a person, maybe it's a woman giving birth.
It could be.
It's a head, there's some titties, and then something coming out. There's her legs.
Or it's a spider. Don't put too much porn on in case I get banned on my live.
You see her arms, there's her arms.
Yes, there are indeed, and a handbag.
Right titty. No, there's no handbag here.
That one thing looked a bit handbaggish.
Okay, I'm zooming in. Do you see a head? That's a hair, funny hairdo. Okay,
They do have funny hairdos, I will give them that.
I had to include these two parts,
Well, would she
and then
be a
if you
woman
go
if not?
down, yeah, it's someone giving birth, I'm guessing.
What I find even more interesting is that several of the animals depicted don't actually exist in the area and haven't
Okay,
for a very, very long time. So, they're like animals that only exist in very temperate climates or in heavily forested climates, which kind of implies that back in the day, this was a very forested. What I also find, did you see the dinosaurs that were shown? There's a very nice Stegosaurus.
well, what do you think this is?
I don't know.
This might be a wild boar.
Yeah, it could be. There's
I'm
absolutely a
not sure
lot
what
of
that is.
those. A giant pig, which again, pigs generally exist in climates where you get a lot of foraging type materials. I'm looking at a bunch of pictures that look like,
I know what this is. This is from Egypt.
yes,
This is a dog face.
yes. And there's dodo like birds carved. The dog
Yeah.
faces, yes, which a lot of the people around that area have records of, not as something amazing, but just like as the other buggers that live over there. No big deal. So apparently,
So the gods 11,000 years ago had to be different than the gods we have today.
yeah, I would say probably.
I mean, they didn't have Jesus.
No. He is a very, very young interloper. I mean, in terms of history, you could almost say that even Judaism is pretty young. And I mean, that's a good 6 or 7 or 8,000 years old at least. So, and
Trying to look at carvings. Maybe I can. They did imprint their cutting tools. It's just we don't know how it looks like, so we
well,
don't know what we're looking at.
it's too worn to properly see how, to see the chisel marks to really tell. I mean, I'm looking at a very nice image of what is essentially a hippo. And of course, you only get hippos where you get a lot of water. But it's a hippo. I mean, there is no doubt. But of course, it's got that pitted look of very weathered stone, which basically says that you won't be able to see the chisel marks. Which I suppose is kind of annoying.
Yeah. No, all these rocks that I'm looking at it's very grainy. Lots of
Yes,
texture on it. It's not
it's
so
weathering.
smooth.
It's all the weathering. So any chisel marks are basically lost. And if they had smoothed down after chiseling, there'd be even less marks to see anyway, even when fresh. So it has secrets that are not easily explained.
Yeah.
And why a T shape? I mean, there's another thing that I've never seen anyone even attempt to explain. Because if you
Well,
think about
my
it,
guess is they are actually pillars
to hold it.
holding stuff up.
Well, okay, that's one option, but here's a thought for you that I was vaguely debating. Stonehenge is made of separate pieces, and they went to great lengths to make a T-shaped top. Göbekli Tepe has got a T-shaped set of pillars. The T-shape seems to come up often. What's the significance? Is it just architectural? In which case, it implies that Stonehenge was actually originally a house, possibly with a wooden roof.
Yeah, there was probably a lot more there, but
Yes.
because of raiders, they probably stole their rocks. I don't know.
Well, if it was a wooden roof on top of the stone structure,
It was completely deroded.
yes, that would have gotten lost. I mean, we know that there was an entirely wooden henge not that far from Stonehenge. That was a little bit more protected, and we found remnants of. So they did build wood henges. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. But wood doesn't last.
No, it doesn't. So, I mean, excuse me. It occurs to me, if those T-shaped stones were like that, what was on top might not have been a roof, but a floor.
Yes.
Yes, so that ceremonies happened higher up, allowing for people around to see. So you had a wooden structure supported by good, robust stone columns. And the wood's now long gone, leaving... I mean, that's actually very reasonable. Not sure. We do know that, the following.
But I'm guessing they also had some sort of currency, right? If I have to look at Egypt. I mean, if you want to build a pyramid like that, you probably have to be super rich.
Well, be careful because, and here is why I say be careful, you're right, but now we're used to the idea of it being gold. But remember that the Aztecs used cocoa pods as their currency.
Nice.
Which means it would degrade over time. So 100 years later, there's no money left.
But once you make a trade, you get your money, and then it's good and well, and then you just grow more.
But exactly that. So at the time, the Aztecs used cocoa pods, regulated who could grow it and how much. But the advantage, if you will, was the fact that when your money actually was worth something, you could use it, not just as money, but you could literally eat it and so on and so forth. So what people valued may have not been what we think of as money.
Yeah. It's some sort of currency or trading method.
Yes. No, so they would
Because
definitely have that.
somebody had to make the food or get the food, and somebody had to pull the rock.
Yes, so the guys pulling the rock are not making their own food
Yeah.
for all the reasons. Now, T-shaped stones, usually pillars, are absolutely found at Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. Have you heard of Karahan Tepe?
Karahan Tepe. No.
I will type it for you. Hold on. Karahan Tepe. Both
I
of
found it.
which, yeah, they're in both in Turkey, both around 11,000 BC. T-shaped pillars, ritualistic structures with carvings. Later sites like Nevali Kori also have T-shaped stones. Those in the Balearic Islands, like Menorca, also have and are part of the Talaoik culture. So the oldest known T-shaped pillars from the pre-pottery Neolithic, which happened around 10 to 9 millennia BC, so before that, apparently were built by hunter-gatherers. I'm starting to wonder if we really can call them hunter-gatherers. But they are usually single blocks up to 5 meters tall, carved with abstract features, along with animal and humans and all. They are believed to be roof supports for enclosures. I'm starting to think that they were floor supports for enclosures. But there you go, it's just me. But yeah, so Sefer Tepe, Hamzan Tepe, Nevali Kori, Karan Tepe, and Göbekli Tepe. All right, so we've actually got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sites in Turkey. In the Balearic Islands, you've got the Taulas, which means tables. They're T-shaped stone formations from the local Talaiotic culture, about 1,000 to 300 BC. So not as old as the Turkish ones, but same. Single stone Turkish, but 2 stones for the Balearic. Usually within a U-shaped enclosure. Interesting ones are certain places where there are pyrite T-shaped pillars. All right, that's pretty damn good. So yeah, T-shaped pillars are a thing, insofar as it matters. How about that? So lots of questions, not a lot of answers. And Mickey, hey, how are you feeling? I see you lurking there now. I was trying to find out how many tepes there are. I hope you're in fine and fabulous form and are feeling much better today.
I see lots of images of pottery
Yes.
from Karan Tepe.
And they are supposed to have been made in the pre-pottery era. Huge thanks to Mickey for the rose. I'm sending you an invite, but you need not if you don't feel like it. It depends on which medication she's had. Are you feeling good? Am I teasing you?
That's funny. Which medications?
Well,
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm
know what you
told by
mean.
friends that you get 2 kinds of medication. the doctor's medication, which makes you sleepy, and the weekend medication that makes you drunk.
Yeah.
I don't
Sure.
drink, so I don't do that, and I take far too many pills to ever want to take any more.
I'm on a combination, so it's
Oh, well,
probably
there we
not
go. That sounds good to me.
but
And
yeah.
as we know, the 5-leaf clover that is very popular by many also works much good things.
5-leaf coat. What? Oh, I see what you mean.
Yes, it's very
No,
lucky.
not that type of clover I don't take.
I don't neither, but I know a great many that do and approve of it massively. So,
Yeah. No, I definitely would, but the thing is the smell, and also my asthma doesn't like it so much.
yeah, that's true. Though, one of my friends here makes the most amazing Rice Krispie cookies,
Oh, shoot.
but they
Yeah,
are special cookies.
edibles
Special.
and me. Edibles
Yeah.
and me don't get along.
Oh, not?
No, I get really like, yeah, I think it makes me, yeah, paranoid, like super paranoid, like bad
Oh, it
paranoid.
just makes me throw up. I'm allergic to the stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, last time I ever had much of it. It's not entirely true. I smoked a little once with a friend just because I
Mm.
said I would, and it was okay. But I definitely felt very weird. But normally, if I tried it in the past occasions, I just felt very sick. So,
Smoking is okay, but the smell and the actual fumes in my lungs are not good. But eating it still, is not really good for me because that messes with my brain big time.
well, there's a lady we know in Hillcrest, I think, somewhere down that way, who specializes in all the good stuff. And she makes chocolate brownies and jelly gummies and
Yeah.
all, and it's nice. I mean, the chocolate brownies smell amazing.
They are nice, but like the thing is, I think it's also where you buy it from because they all different strengths. I've had
That's
edib
true.
Yeah, I've had edibles before, and every time I've had, it's always made me feel really paranoid and not nice.
No, that's not a good thing. We don't want you paranoid. So, how is
Mm.
it that in Turkish buildings like Göbekli Tepe that predate by about 1,000 years the era of pottery, there's lots of pottery in the sites? Were they in continuous use after they were built for thousands of years and only buried later?
The people buried themselves while working pottery on the ground. What?
Don't really know. There's a number of anomalies to the accepted stories as to what happened that just don't add up to me. And I was saying to Spooky a bit earlier, they are amazing. They made these using stone tools. I've tried doing stuff with modern tools, and it's damned hard. If you just gave me a piece of flint to try and carve something, it would be a big no. You know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it would be a very big no. So either these guys were way stronger than people are today, or we're missing something somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it seems really odd to me. I don't know. It's a weird sort of a thing. And I don't really have answers. in that regard. It's a strange setup, but it's interesting.
Yeah, so Karan Tepe also has these T-shape.
Right?
But apparently Karan Tepe is a village, a settlement. They settled there. It
Which
wasn't some site. Eh?
which is exactly what they told us they didn't do. So right away, that blows out everything that's been said before. You know, they were hunter-gatherers that never settled and didn't have agriculture and didn't this and didn't that, but there's a village. Apparently I have to remove the background noise so that people can hear me properly. I don't know how to do that.
Who said that?
No, it popped up as a message. Remove your background noise.
I don't hear no background. Maybe a bit, but not really.
I think it might be mine.
I don't know.
Yeah, kind of crickety things. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It just popped up and I'm like, I don't know. And
That's
what are
weird.
dynamic effects?
Dynamic effects.
Oh, you can zoom into things and stuff. Okay, I did not know that. Clearly there's a lot I don't know. They've added a whole ton of new buttons to TikTok. And I'm slightly afraid to poke them in case something starts making a countdown.
Oh,
Is this on desktop?
Yeah. Balancing light and, optimizing exposure so you can see me properly. I'm not sure that's going to improve anything for anyone. Tweaking the color temperature. Am I tweaked? Do I look lovely, darlings?
You look beautiful.
You said that with too much laughter in your voice.
So beautiful.
That's hilarious. I can't say I can see the difference, but, maybe you
It
can.
does. I don't know, not really.
No, but AI...
But you always look beautiful, so it's fine. Not stressed.
That's why I wear a hood, so as not to frighten my viewers.
Oh, yeah. Don't be so hard on yourself. You're a beautiful, beautiful man.
Oh, you're too kind. I'm going to get an overly swollen head and won't be able to wear my hood anymore.
That's okay.
Thank you. Oh, dear. But yes, there are a lot of questions. So here is the deal. Having spoken about lost treasures, having spoken about all of those other things, the next set of lives I'm going to start researching up and doing is going to be pirates. Because pirates are cool. And of course, some of them interesting. And I've remembered the word I couldn't remember. Privateer.
Privateer.
Yes. So, a pirate is a criminal, right?
Yeah.
But a privateer is a government-sanctioned freelance person who only attacks ships belonging to the enemies.
Or goes and robs them?
And, well, yes, that's how he gets paid. So, for most of his career, Blackbeard, Edward Teach, was not a pirate. He was a privateer for the British against the Spanish. He was only named a pirate after he got rich and the British wanted what he had.
Oh, sure. Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Is it just me, or does some of these T-shaped rocks look like a circumcised?
Well, that
That's probably just me.
could be a point. It's hard to say, especially with that much weathering and with all the carvings on them. So I suppose it would depend on which site as well.
Yeah, well, we get these ones,
And yes,
and then you get like a decent T-shape.
yes. So those ones on the right are what they technically refer to as a stele, which basically just means an upright rock with stuff written on it, because they don't know what else to call it. Whereas those T-shaped ones are clearly supports of some kind, which is a very different situation. But
What do you think?
supports
It
of
was
what?
food, water.
Well, a number of things that we also know is that for reasons, different geological reasons, sometimes man-induced reasons, a number of rivers have changed their courses over history and changed how the alluvial floodplains work. Okay, sometimes a volcano going off did it, or an earthquake did it, but it means that a number of things that at one time would have been above ground and perfectly ordinary cities on the coast are now sunken underwater. We know there's lots of changes all over. And with the changes, and this is the bit that's come up with what we've discussed today, is there's an environmental change, not just a physical change. So whatever happened that Göbekli Tepe commemorates caused an ice age, which means that what was before was very different afterwards.
Well, Göbekli Tepe, they built that place during an ice
but
age.
in memory of
Which
an
means-
event.
Yeah, but which means that during an ice age, there's a lot more land because all the water is frozen.
Also very, very, very true. Which means things would have looked different, continents would have been different. There's a huge number of things. This is a good point.
Maybe they went and built near a coast, but that coast is now how many meters deep? Yeah.
Well, an interesting thing I didn't know is that after about 100 meters through water, things like radar don't work.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there's something about water that radio signals, radar, crap like that, it doesn't work very well at all. You've got to get really sophisticated to get very deep. And that's why we've only mapped tiny amounts of the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. But
Even
you also
with
can't
our
get
fancy
equipment in
radar.
there.
No, but you'd say, oh, but we got satellite. And we do have satellite that can do it. It's true. But it doesn't penetrate water. Ground is easier to penetrate than water because ground is static.
Or try to get a camera a couple of kilometers down into water, it gets crushed.
Well, that's
all the
the,
pressure.
well, that's the second thing. So you can't get the cameras down. Radar won't go through water properly. You can't use like lasers and things because of water refraction, which stuffs everything up. So water is virtually impossible to penetrate.
Wow,
So we don't know what's down there. There could be anything.
that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there was a connection from Africa straight to Europe. Like there wasn't Italy. The boot wasn't really there. It was just land all the way to Africa.
Could have been. I further point out that the way everyone goes on and on, Africa is where humanity came out of. I think that's wrong. I think it's completely wrong. I think that people as we know it developed in different places in slightly different ways, and it didn't all come from one country. And I tell you
They
why.
certainly did go back to Africa because they went and built pyramids where Zimbabwe is now.
I think certain groups have an origin in Africa and left and came back. But I don't think all groups. If you look at the DNA and genetics of different peoples, the Chthonic tribes are quite distinct. The Asian tribes are quite distinct. And so on and so on. I think that we had multiple evolutions in different continents.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that too.
Yeah. So did some come from Africa? Yes. And went back. Or maybe started somewhere else and came to Africa. So, you know, I mean, the possibility that they started in South America and came to Africa is very big to me.
But yeah, and the thing is, why would it only start in one area in the world and never develop
Right?
anywhere else?
That doesn't make sense to me either.
It had to have been all over the world. But
Yes.
I'd be like, probably that's why we have so many different races.
That's my point. Exactly that. We have different races because there were different origins, which did turn out a bit different.
Exactly.
I mean, the Slavs are technically white people, but they have a very different genetic makeup to the people, Germany, France, Britain, all of that, which are linked.
But I'm gonna sound really stupid now when I say this. I don't know how to pronounce them. The Moans. Guys, you know from the movie. Dude, what's his name?
The people from the Hawaiian Islands.
Yes.
Okay.
They're completely different too.
Yes,
Like,
they are. They are absolutely.
so you say you
The
see what I'm
Maori.
trying to say.
So
Yeah,
the people in Hawaii are similar to the people in New Zealand.
Okay.
Okay, so all around the Polynesian islands, there's similarities, which says that that bunch had an origin that was more or less the same.
Yeah.
But now if you take a Maori and compare them to a Navajo Indian,
Yeah. They're
nothing like
completely
each
different.
other.
Exactly. So it must have been like people must have evolved so many different ways throughout the world. You know,
Right?
it's not even.
Absolutely.
What boggles my mind is how do you get somebody that builds this and then turn into a sub-Saharan African?
Well, again, how is it we can gain massive amounts of civilization and suddenly lose it all? This is not an answered question.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
from building structures to like this to running around naked throwing sharpened sticks
Exactly.
doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. You know,
Yeah, it was two different people, like types of people. For
it, it,
sure.
it really doesn't make any sense. And it implies something happened that we don't know about.
Mm.
Also,
Maybe it,
here's another thought for you, just to muddy the waters further. Just because the Olmecs built what they did, if they then vanished, people coming after them might have just moved in and taken over their structures and modified them a bit, not having got the technology to build them. And then we come along 1,000 years later and go, oh, look, these guys built this place. No, they didn't. It was built by somebody else. They just moved in because it was convenient after the original inhabitants were either slaughtered, chased out, or disappeared.
yeah,
Yeah.
but here it is. You get some people who are more intelligent than others, so they build these buildings or whatever, and they're so intelligent and sophisticated compared to the people who are taking over, and yeah,
Well,
it can cause a lot of confusion.
there is a story among the Aztecs that they say they didn't build Teotihuacan. It was built by the giants that came before them and they took it over.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, I see lots of sub-Saharan Africans claiming that they built the pyramids.
Mm.
no.
No.
And I would further point out, this is something that annoys me all the time. When people talk about Africans, you're not talking about anybody. Because
Yeah.
the San
I'm an African.
are one type, the Bantu are one type, the people in Nigeria are not Bantu, and they're not the same as the San, and they're not the same as the Ethiopians, and they're not the same as the Egyptians. They're all African, granted, but Africa's
Yeah.
bloody huge. The different
Yeah.
groups are not the same. They're not even related.
Yeah. No, I've heard there's more diversity amongst black people than there are between white people.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I can confirm if you meet a Ugandan, they are nothing like a Malawian. And that's not a qualitative distinction. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying they're nothing alike.
But weird enough, something I found is like when I was working in Woolworths, like back in the day, there were a lot of different, like the black Africans. They had a lot of issues with each other, like
Yes,
fighting all the time because they were not all the same.
absolutely.
And to me, that was like kind of shocking because I went in there.
Thinking, yeah, it's all the same. No.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and thinking everybody was gonna be not okay. I'm just sounding really.
No, but I get where you're coming from.
But there wasn't a lot of people, the white skin color, working there at the time, and I was like, okay, I'm coming in here, and they hated each other more than they hated on me. So I was like, okay,
Well,
what's happening?
I can tell you some of the worst racist comments I've ever heard were made by black South Africans about black Americans.
Oh yeah, they hate each
Oh,
other.
they think that they are posers of the worst degree.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just kind of shocked by how much they actually hate their own race. Because when I was working there, I had a lot to do, and they
Right?
were talking about witchcraft in the shop. They were
yes.
talking about people putting curses on each other inside the working space. It was like, wow. It was kind of shocking to me because,
And it
The
happens a
worst
lot.
racism I've ever seen was actually white people being racist to white people.
Yes,
Oh,
I
that's
experienced that when I went to England with my folks. I actually did not know what apartheid was because I grew up in Zinkwazi and there just wasn't any because there wasn't really anybody there much. So I had no experience of it, none. And when I got to school, it was really ironic because about four guys attacked me and started beating me up because I was racist, according to them, because I did apartheid, as they call it. And
It's
I was
their
like,
media.
yeah, and I had no idea what was going on. And the really ironic thing, it was a black Pakistani that stepped in and fought them off. I mean, there's irony for you.
very odd. Eh?
So,
Because I found it was just very strange that no, I was pretty much the only white girl working in that Woolworths. And people
right?
accepted me with open arms. There was no problems.
No, there isn't.
And I never felt discrimination, but then the other girls were telling me about the problems they were finding between their own
Yeah.
race.
Well,
People were like putting voodoo and all kinds of
oh,
nonsense. Like,
yes. It's a big deal. They do a roaring trade down in Howick at the stalls. You get all sorts of things that are ever so useful.
it was crazy scary.
So
No.
there's a section in the one shop that's sort of in the corner. And you see people will come in and they'll look all over the shop, all the different medicines and this and that, but nobody seems to notice this back corner. It's like their eyes just don't go there. But
Uh,
every now and then somebody will go in and he'll ask quite loudly, you know, for this and yeah, no, I've got a cold and I want this, and then he mutters something and
I
the,
have
the,
no
the
idea.
proprietor will take a thing off that shelf and add it with all the other stuff, and he buys and he pays and he walks out, and you know it just happens to have been in the bag, and
You
you
know,
just
the thing is like, yeah, the lady I was working with at the time at the war, she said to me, because, I was friends, like a friend of mine got me into wars, and
yeah,
we had been modeling together back in my modeling days or whatever. And and then she said to me that a lot of the people there in the, shop were all sleeping together. Kind of
oh
thing.
yes,
It was a
well,
big thing.
I,
And I wasn't, I was very innocent and I'm not aware of that kind of thing. And I was like, okay.
well,
And
can I
then she
shock you
said,
further? When I was studying in the seminary, a lot of them were sleeping with each other. And I'm talking
oh,
about just guys.
oh, wow.
Yeah, I used to
Okay.
lock my door at night to avoid the pitter
Yeah,
patter of little feet.
that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so she was just telling me about the girls getting pregnant by the guys who other girls are interested in. And I'm like, this is all happening in a Woolworths shop,
Yeah.
guys. And I was like, what? What the heck is this? I was like, and virginal ears. I'm like, what's happening?
No, absolutely. Some things it seems go on all the time and you have no idea. But everybody
Yeah,
else seems to know.
it was bad. It was just the guys from the back end of the shop to the front of the shop. It was all happening within this one Woolworths shop, and I was just like, wow.
When I ran a bookstore, I ran it inside a mall.
Okay.
And oh my God, the I actually used to deliberately go out of my way not to hear the gossip because this one's doing that one who's also doing those two who's that one's taking drugs and this one does this, and I mean it was unbelievable the shit that was going down. all around.
It was it was so bad, and the thing is, like, it explained a lot to me because this was my first real job, like
Yep,
working
yep.
in the public and dealing with people,
The
and
telenovela setup.
yeah, and the thing is, I had all this weird energy around me all the time, and I thought it was like, what the heck? And the bitchiness. And then I
Oh,
understood.
yeah.
I eventually understood the bitchiness, and I'm like, okay, because I wasn't very. I think I was 23, but still, I was very like, brought up in a certain way, and all this weird
Well,
nonsense happening.
yes. Most of us in South Africa, I mean, look, I know I was, and I'm pretty sure you guys were too. It was very strict, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
we knew of one guy that kissed some girl in town, and it was talked about for weeks, and all he did was give her a kiss. It
yeah.
was like, my God, you actually kissed her?
Oh,
you know it was a big deal. And then once we got out of school and what have you and moved around, you suddenly realized that, hey, that ain't nothing, bruh. What goes
no,
on now?
that's pretty traumatic. I went through, like, cause like I was brought up in a very strict Christian family.
Me too.
Shit.
Me too.
I didn't know what nothing was back in the days.
Boy, did we
And
find out. What about you, Spooky? You've gone very quiet.
What
were,
about me?
were you innocent
Innocent in no, sorry.
until you realized that people were doing all kinds of scandalous things around you?
yeah, until I
Well,
married him.
if they did, I don't know about it.
There you go. He's still innocent, Mickey.
That's okay.
You're much better off. Believe me, much better off.
Yeah, no. If you guys are talking like about what do you call it? Groupies or orgies or stuff like that. No, I've never been part of any of that type of stuff.
I can tell you that when I worked in Joburg, I worked for a place where the guy who owned the business I worked for owned like 4 businesses, and they were all run out of this one place. So there were a good 1,000 odd staff, all in this one building, in different sections, of course. And oh God, did they get on with all sorts of stuff. And it was known that the people from the kitchen department were doing this and that with that one from sales and all the rest of it. And I never realized how far it had gone until there was a girl that used to come in. She was the daughter of one of the senior managers. And she would come in over Christmas. She was in high school. And she would then do work over Christmas only. And I was assigned to sort out a whole ton of Christmassy stuff because it related to the social media side and stuff. And as I was a journalist, I had the camera and so on and so forth. And so she was assigned to help me in all of the thing. And coming up on Christmas, that's what I did. I worked with her doing all of the things, getting ready. And it never occurred to me to be anything more than that. Until one day, one of the guys says to me, and with a big grin on his face, "So is she any good?" And I'm like, "Sorry, what?" And he's like, "No, last year apparently this and this and this happened, and she hooked up with this guy, and there was all kinds of scandal. I wondered if she was any good in bed." I'm like, "I have no idea. All I've ever done is like take photos around the shop of products. It never occurred to me, but apparently it was a known thing. The scandals went on, and I was oblivious to it all. And when I finally learned, I was like, all right, that's a thing I didn't know. But,
So you were part of it, you just didn't know.
well, they assumed since she had hooked up with the last person she worked with, that she hooked up with me. And innocent me, who, I just carried on and did my job and didn't think. I had no idea of all of these internal scandals, because normally my work took me out of office, so I wasn't part of all the gossipy stuff. And they assumed I knew, and I had got no clue. And I was like, no. How little you know, how little you know. But there you go.
Reminds me of this movie about this woman. She was sleeping with her teachers,
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of them, and doctors as well.
Okay.
And she attempted to make a gay guy straight.
Okay. Did it work?
No, at the end, she told him to go and find love.
Ah. Well, maybe they did. I honestly don't know. It's all very strange to me. But there you go, the scandals that can happen wherever you get people together. I do know that in many occasions I have been terribly innocent of such things. Apparently I don't notice half the time when shit goes down. So there you are. I am ignorant of such things, apparently. But yeah, that's where we have tonight. It is the best that I can comment thus far. I'm dropping things on the floor, apparently. But I will tell you that we will be back tomorrow, and we will do pirates, and it will be interesting. So hopefully you will come back for that. You're welcome. Hopefully Mickey will come back for that as well. She will be welcome. So yeah.
I've got some questions, pirate questions, but I'll keep them for tomorrow.
Good. I shall look forward to all of them, and you are welcome to ask them at any time. So we shall take it from there. But thanks to all who've been on. Thank you so much for the likes. Thank you to Joy as well. So, yes. Umakondana. But nevertheless, thank you to you all. Have a wonderful evening. Sleep deep, sleep sweet, and dream of treasures. Cheers, cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Have a good night.